perhaps you have an addiction. Now, I'm not talking about the common addictions, which would be pretty obvious to you. Addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs, to sex, to gambling. You pretty much know if you're addicted to those kinds of things, or there might be at least some suspicion. I'm talking about an addiction to something like an emotional state. So, for instance, you might have an addiction to drama, or to complaining and whining, or you might have an addiction to suffering, or you might have an addiction to emotional pain, or to things being hard. Quite an interesting idea, right? That maybe there's something going on that's creating this need for things in your life to be more difficult than they are, more painful than they are, more dramatic than they are. And if that's the case, it's well worth looking at. Is there an addiction going on here that I'm not even aware of? So let me give you an example. I was talking to somebody about an addiction to suffering. And this person was raised in quite a difficult environment. There was a lot of suffering going in the environment. And as we started to explore this idea that there was suffering going on for her, we really discovered that actually, in all practical terms and purposes, there was no suffering. Her job was going well, her relationship was going well, she made good money, her people were fine, her environment was fine, everything was actually fine. But there was this sense inside of her that in order for her to be okay as a human being, to fit into her community, she needed to have a sense of herself that was suffering. And it sparked for me an idea that I even had this addiction, and it was an addiction to proving and to things being hard. And so for me, there was this experience that if something is hard, it's worthwhile, it's more meaningful. And so I went through my life and somehow managed, emotionally speaking, to make everything a little bit harder than it needed to be. And maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had a client who was completely addicted to drama. And that was really interesting to see, because in her experience, when she was in pain and drama, she got the attention that she craved. So, as human beings, we have this huge desire to fit in and to see ourselves as worthy and to see ourselves as having meaning or adding value in the world. And sometimes the way that we go about doing that is we create unnecessary additional emotional angst or pain or drama or unhappiness so that we have this thing to overcome. And in the overcoming, we feel like we've produced something, we've done something meaningful or valuable. And sometimes we have an addiction to something and we're completely unaware that we have an addiction to it. We just think it's our personality. That's who I am. Maybe an addiction to anger or acting out, or maybe, I wouldn't say this is an addiction per se, but maybe an addiction to hiding. I can't be seen. And so when we're children, we always looking for how to get attachment, how to get authenticity, and we're trying to find a way to make our way in the world. And this is where these things come from, this idea that in order to make my way, this has to be true for me. But the problem is that these feelings aren't great. I mean, there's something wrong with being in drama or wrong with being in suffering. It's just that it doesn't feel good to be in drama or suffering or unhappiness. And if we are stuck in these feelings, we don't have the opportunity to feel the great pleasure of being alive. The happiness and the joy and being present and just being engaged and immersed in what's possible for us in the moment. And whilst they can be great drivers for us, they can also hold us back from getting what we want in our lives. So something worth considering. Do you have any negative emotion that comes up a lot for you? Any idea or story that you tell yourself that keeps you kind of stuck in your life, or keeps you pushing and makes life less comfortable, less smooth flowing and less delightful than it could possibly be? And if you do, what is it trying to achieve for you? What is its purpose for you? And perhaps in seeing that, you could see that it's not fulfilling the purpose and it's easy enough to give up. Nice idea, huh? Go and play with that and have a gorgeous week.